Russian soldiers running for their lives as a Ukrainian drone hunts them down and drops bombs on them near Bakhmut. The footage, shot from the drone, shows the drone dropping a first bomb on a group of Russian soldiers, with them then fleeing and rushing into a dugout to hide. They can be seen scrambling in through a small entrance before the drone then drops a second bomb right into it. It explodes, causing smoke to rise out of the hole as the footage ends. The images were obtained from the 30th Brigade Ukrainian Armed Forces on Friday, 2th December near Bakhmut. The operator of a 30th Separate Mechanized Brigade drone found an enemy stronghold and started dropping grenades. Frightened Russians rushed into the dugout, hoping that they would not be caught there. But when they all gathered in a heap, another grenade flew right into the target. A war that began with Russian tanks rolling across Ukraine's borders, World War I-style trenches carved into the earth and Soviet-made artillery pounding the landscape now has a more modern dimension. Soldiers observing the battlefield on a small satellite-linked monitor while their palm-sized drone hovers out of sight. With hundreds of reconnaissance and attack drones flying over Ukraine each day, the fight set off by a land grab befitting an 18th-century emperor has transformed into a digital-age competition for technological superiority in the skies one military annals will mark as a turning point. In past conflicts, drones were typically used by one side over largely uncontested airspace to locate and hit targets, for example, in U.S. operations in Afghanistan and the Middle East. In the battle between Russia and Ukraine, drones are integrated into every phase of fighting, with extensive fleets, air defenses, and jamming systems on each side. It is a war fought at a distance the enemy is often miles away and nothing bridges the gap more than drones, giving Russia and Ukraine the ability to see and attack each other without ever getting close. Ukrainian forces have also used drones to strike targets far from the fighting, in Crimea, which Russia illegally annexed in 2014, and in Russia's Belgorod border region, according to multiple Ukrainian officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive matters but declined to say what type of drones were used. Russia has repeatedly struck Ukraine's critical civilian infrastructure with self-detonating drones, a cheap substitute for high-precision missiles. Drones have become so critical to battlefield success that at times they are used to take out other drones. In early September, just days before Ukraine launched an offensive to expel Russian forces from its northeastern Kharkiv region, a Ukrainian reconnaissance drone flew through a gap between two jamming systems near the Russian border. It crossed into Russia and turned north across the Belgorod region, where Russia bases equipment to support its war in eastern Ukraine. The drone spotted a base for Moscow's own unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, according to overhead images captured by the Ukrainians that were later reviewed by the Washington Post. In one frame, a Russian Orlan 10, with a trademark propeller on its nose, could be seen sitting in the field beside a house. Then in an after photo, the house had a hole in its roof, and an ambulance could be seen driving up. A Ukrainian attack drone had followed the same route as the reconnaissance drone and delivered a strike on the fleet of enemy eyes. The attack, which has not been previously reported, dealt a blow to the Russian forces' ability to see the Ukrainian offensive coming and to counterattack. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians deployed reconnaissance UAVs to mark the coordinates of Russian command posts, artillery batteries, electronic warfare systems and ammunition depots. Then, as Western provided multiple launch rocket systems fired on those targets, drones were flying again, redirecting the rocket fire in real time or confirming that it hit the mark. At times, combat drones delivered the blow themselves. The Ukrainian strikes weakened the Russians and set the stage for Ukrainian soldiers to advance. When they did, drones were again hovering, allowing the operations commander to monitor the troops' progress on a live stream. "We had the full picture of the fight," said Colonel General Alexander Syrskyi, commander of the Ukrainian ground forces. The result was a stunning Russian retreat. Two main developments are going to impact future war, said Samuel Bendet, a military analyst at the Virginia-based research group CNA. The proliferation and availability of combat drones for longer-ranged, more sophisticated operations, and the absolute necessity to have cheap tactical drones for close support operations. More than anything, drones put eyes on the battlefield. And to see the enemy's moves, the Ukrainian military last spring created a unit of reconnaissance drone teams called Oki Ukrainian for Eyes. Four-person teams are now spread across the Eastern Front, flying UAVs every day except when it rains. In September, members of one such team squinted at their small handheld monitor and snickered. On the screen, they could make out several people in military uniform and a cart, in a cornfield across the Oskil River in a part of the Kharkiv region then occupied by Russians. "They're stealing the locals' corn," said one of the Ukrainian drone operators, who for security reasons spoke on the condition that he be identified by his call sign, bars. A few Russian troops weren't worth an artillery strike, but the drone would keep watching in case they returned to a base. Driving an unarmored car, an Oki team picks a spot near the front line, plugs in backup drone batteries to a generator and fires up a Starlink internet connection, so everything they see can be streamed to nearby brigades.